Photographers waste too much time on arguing about gear. But even worse is when they start arguing about what is the right style or is some kind of an image in part of some genre or not. That's even worse. Hi, it's Peter here, and let's get right into the business. What I love about photography is that it can be done in so many ways. You can be a professional photographer, you can be a very dedicated amateur photographer, or you can be just an everyday snapper. And all of these have their place in the universe, and nothing is the right way, or there is no right way to do the thing. You don't have to be a professional. You can just be a snapper if you feel like it. And that's equally important because photography is not only about the photographs itself, it's also about enjoying making those images. And because there are so many ways of making photography, arguing about it is nonsense. One big argument or disagreement or debate in street photography is that should it be documentary style or can it be artistic style? And are these both approaches street photography? Let's talk about a few points, how they differ, and then at the end I will tell my own opinion about this. The first difference is the intention and purpose. Documentary approach aims to be objective view of the scene that was actually happening. And this is something that we could argue is that is photography ever objective, or how much there is a subjective thing when a photographer does so many important decisions even before he or she clicks the shutter. So can it be objective? Because in artistic interpretation or artistic approach, you have more artistic freedom, of course, and that makes it more subjective. And in documentary photography or documentary approach in street photography, we try to tell stories and show things how they are. In artistic approach, it's more about showing images how you feel that the situation was. So there is a big difference in that, showing how it is and showing how you felt it was. That's a major difference. And also in the documentary approach, it's more about information and informing the public. Okay, that might go a little bit off from street photography, but in documentary style photography, that's usually the case. In artistic approach, there is more artistic freedom to show situation how you felt it. I already said that, but that's an important thing. It's a difference between documentary is more objective, if that's even possible, and then artistic is more subjective, and there is a difference in the approach in that sense, and that's a big difference. And then the second thing is ethical considerations. In documentary style or approach, the ethical standards are, of course, higher. You're supposed to tell the things and the stories how they actually are. And that also applies to image editing. If you're doing documentary style, I would not make that much image editing because then you will altering the scene. And of course, you can adjust contrast and stuff like that and then leave out kind of like cloning and taking out stuff that's inside the frame. But in artistic approach, you don't really have any limitations. Of course, the only limit is your taste and the viewer's taste and what looks good and what doesn't look good. It doesn't mean that use all the filters in Photoshop or Lightroom to get certain look. Need to do the editing in documentary style so that it looks the way it looked. And then in artistic style, it's more about how you felt when you're making the image. What is the look, what you felt, and what you want to kind of add the artistic approach to the image. So there is a difference in there too. But yeah, documentary more towards truth and artistic more towards the feeling. In documentary style or approach, you are using more traditional ways of making the composition, for example. You rely on the so-called rules. And if you want to learn more about the composition rules, you might want to take a look at that video. I will have a link of the video also in the end screen and also in the description of this video. So don't worry clicking it now. But just a heads up that there is an interesting video coming after this. And then in artistic techniques, you can have more freedom and make more, let's say, not obeying the rules so much, which of course in art you don't really have any rules because it's more of interpreting your own feelings. So that also applies to compositions. And also in documentary style, you will use more clarity and make more traditional looking images. Like classical street photographs are one part of this, even though someone could argue that it is also art, but we'll get back to that later in the video. And then reception and interpretation. Documentary reception is often valued for its historical and social significance. It's a document of something that happened. We've talked about this in the video already, but it's the key difference. And artistic reception is more about appreciate for its aesthetic qualities and emotional impact. So it is a big difference. Of course, a document of something can have a very big emotional impact. It depends on what it is. But it's not the core in that sense, what I'm talking here now when we're talking about documentary, because we're not talking about photojournalism. We're talking more about street photography, which is a little bit different than photojournalism, even though they might have some similarities. And then, of course, the artistic approach is more towards gallery work and stuff like that, even though I would say that documentary photographs can be exhibited as or in art context. It depends a little bit. But so there isn't that big of a difference, to be honest, even though I marked it here. But yeah, of course, documentary photography can be exhibited in an art gallery. I think it's very stupid to argue which one is better. We like different things. Which one is your preferred? Please let us know in the comments down below. And if you're not a street photographer, this applies to many other genres too. We can document the nature or we can make art photographing nature. And a few examples before we get into the part where I tell what I think about which one is better or is there any difference. Unfortunately, I cannot really photograph right now because I have the cast on my leg still, and it's going to be about a month till I can walk with my 2 feet without the crutches. So photographing at the moment is not very convenient, and haven't been able to photograph that much lately. So I have some images for my archives. And if we look at these two images, quite similar, but the one on the left is definitely more artistic style than the one on the right, even though they're both silhouettes. But the right one is from a actual street scene as things happened, and the other one on the left is more kind of like feeling and all that, and it's more edited too. I've edited to look like that, so that's a difference in a similar images. And then these two images. The one on the right is more documentary style. There is not much image editing, if at all, slightly adding contrast and slightly cropped so that the license plate on the blue taxi doesn't show. It was better that way, but I was a bit further away, and with the crutches I couldn't move that fast, so I had to take that. And I like these images with balloons, and it was something that happened exactly the way it is. But then on the left side, the image, that's more artistic style. It's photographed through a glass, and there are some reflections, and it's a lot more artistic style, and that's the main difference here. As you see from these images, that the differences are not very big, but there is still a real big difference if we come to the documentary style or the artistic style. Now let's go to the next two images. I saw this lady that had all these bags and a suitcase right in front of railway station, across the street from railway station here in Helsinki. And then the other one is from my photo walk the other day when I was photographing and making a video about fishing technique, which I will show you next week. And as you can here also see, the reflection is more artistic style than the other one. Then we have these two images, which are both more towards artistic style, but I think these could be considered as street photographs, even though they are quite abstract, especially the one on the right, where I'm actually in the photograph myself. It's in front of a railway station through a window when I was having a cup of coffee. It's a bit messy image, but I kind of like the image. It came out better than I thought, and there is some surrealism too in it, and it's a lot more artistic style. The one on the left side is closer to document, but even though it's a reflection and there's been some heavy editing done to darken the shadows and brighten up the part where the person is walking in front of the ad. So that is also something that is quite close to a document, even though it is a bit artistic style. Then we have these two images from the Holocaust Memorial in Berlin that I took, I think it was in November. And the one on the right is more of a document of the place. It's not really edited that much, slightly added some contrast. But the one on the left side is heavily edited, and the brighter part has been really brightened up. Having one person in there is the document style, but having an image that relies more on the visual appeal and some feelings and some metaphors and all that that makes it an artistic image. These two images from Berlin, both are documents in my opinion. The one on the left is more artistic style because having the subject inside the mobile phone and then showing a little bit around the surroundings. So it is a document in a way, but it is edited a bit more than the one on the right, which is basically no edits except a little vignette that makes it more or get the viewers to concentrate on the middle of the image. And that one works as a document. In a sense that there aren't that many people in the photograph, it doesn't really tell the whole story of the situation. There's a huge amount of people. It was the anniversary of the fall of the Berlin Wall. But yeah, I hope these examples explained a little bit more. And sorry to show you some old images. I just don't be able to photograph right now that much. And which one I think is so-called better? I don't think either one is better, of course. You probably figured that out already. And I think the best street photographs have some elements from both. It's some kind of a document of the place that you actually were there, that things that happened really happened. And then there is another element that has the artistic approach. And I think those images that have, the best parts of both, I think is the best ones. So I don't think that we should be strictly documentary or strictly art. We should combine from both approaches. There's something kind of like a vision of the photographer in the style that I think elevates the photographs. And that's something that I try to be as a street photographer. I don't know if I've been successful on that or not, but it's not easy to combine these two. And here is a video about the Gestalt principle, which talks all about how our eye and brain works when they see an image. And that might help you to make better compositions. But hey, thanks for watching and bye for now.